So this is just a quick and dirty cover of the topic CVA, which is cerebrovascular accident. Now, cerebro means brain, vascular means vessel, and accident's what happened. So we have an accident or an issue with the blood vessel in the brain, otherwise known as stroke. So there are two types of stroke, or two types of CVA. There is ischemic stroke, and when we're talking about ischemic stroke, we're talking about a clot. So an ischemic stroke is all about a clot. And what it's saying is it's either thrombotic, which is our clot, or embolic, which is a clot that has moved to another location. So maybe someone had a clot in their neck vessel and it broke off and went into their brain. That would be an ischemic stroke. And as a result of that, unfortunately, anything downstream of that clot can die if it's not getting blood supply from other vessels. So our first type was an ischemic stroke, either from a clot that was formed in place or a clot that moved to another location. So the one formed in place is thrombotic, the one that moved to another location is embolic. The other type of clot that we have is hemorrhagic, and that clot is all to do with a burst vessel, often because of high blood pressure and other things, maybe weak blood vessels. So instead of there being a clot forming and obstructing blood flow through the tissue like this, so instead of this big old clot which stops blood flow being able to go, and service the brain, what's happening with this one, if you can see here, is that there is maybe an aneurysm has burst. So in this situation we have maybe the blood vessel look like that, and then something happened to the blood vessel wall, and now it burst and blood gets out and into the brain tissue. So that's called a hemorrhagic stroke. And a hemorrhagic stroke is all about bursting blood vessels. Heme is blood. And it can happen in any different region, subarachnoid or intracerebral. Intracerebral just means within the brain. Subarachnoid means underneath the arachnoid mater. It's one of the layers of the brain. We won't get into that today. So the hemorrhagic type is a bleed or a burst vessel. So some signs and symptoms that might happen in a person who is having this issue is maybe they have weakness, generalized weakness, or in a specific limbs or limb side. They might have a terrible headache, and actually the hemorrhagic stroke, often related to the increased blood pressure, these guys tend to have a ginormous headache. That's very classic of hemorrhagic stroke, but it's not distinguished, like it's not how they would diagnose the difference between ischemic or hemorrhagic. Would need to do imaging for that. They might have visual disturbances, maybe they might not be able to see half vision fields, their balance may be gone, their coordination may be off, and they might have some altered level of consciousness. Altered level of consciousness is anything other than aware and awake and completely on top of it. Consciousness. And how we look out for this is by assessing their face. Is it symmetrical? Checking their arms. Is there equal strength? Can they raise them, and when they raise them, at the same height? Is their speech? Are they having any trouble saying things or even understanding things? And time is time to do something, is act quickly. So we've got to act now. In relation to treatment, it really is dependent on the type of stroke. So if we're talking about ischemic, because the cause was a clot, our goal will be to break that clot down if we've got the time between the clot forming and them getting medical assistance. If it's been too long, we won't be able to do that treatment. So if we think of what the prefix for clot is thrombo. Thrombo is clot. And then lysis is break. So the word, we need a joining letter, is O. So the word is thrombolysis, and that's breaking the clot down, and that's via a medicine. If the issue is hemorrhagic, we've burst the blood vessel, then what's going to happen then is, if we're going to actively manage it, most likely it's going to be surgery. So maybe they need to clip the aneurysm or decrease the pressure by evacuating the hematoma, the big old clot that's formed in the brain tissue. But one major thing that we want to do is definitely keep their blood pressure down. So because this was a quick and dirty, that's really all we're going to do for the topic today. Okay, thanks, bye.